Manchester United build up. Here we go. The derby, the showdown. United v City. How are we, boys? We going all right? Late kickoff, 12:30. Honoured to have Elliot because Elliot was going to come in at 1. So I'm proud of him for jumping in here. Special guest, Tom Simpson. We're just discussing. Tom's probably been doing podcasts for 6 years now. Hated, adored, never ignored. Get on the channel. He's on Spotify. He's probably the most knowledgeable United podcaster going around. So I'm proud to have him on. How are you, Tom? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. I'll take that as a compliment. The 6 years is a little bit scary to think of it. It has been going that long, but I'll take the compliment. Not sure how accurate in regards to the knowledge, but yeah, it's one of those things I just find myself asking the question. Here it is, 12:30 a.m. on a Monday morning, chatting with 3 Manchester United fans ahead of what could be a hell of a lot of pain in an hour's time. And then, but it is what we do. We'll be doing the same thing next week, and it is what it is. So a pleasure as always. And yeah, good to just sort of just have a chat an hour before kickoff. And I've just seen the team news. I'm sure that'll generate a lot of discussion. And yeah, normal pre-match nerves ahead of a derby.
How are you, Jordan? You good?
Good. How are you?
I saw you were down the beach today. I went to the beach today. It was lovely down there. I saw a seal
dog down there.
Yeah,
hey?
I saw a seal down the beach today.
Did you?
Yeah, and I saw a young fella on his jet ski decided to take on 6-foot waves, beach the jet ski. Apparently, he only bought it yesterday or the day before. Yeah.
Straight into it.
Yeah, straight into it. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you boys have seen the team lineup, so I'll pop it up there and let us know your thoughts. Let me see if I can get the right screen up here. Post that at the stage. Here we go. There we go. Go through that, boys, and let us know what you think. Can you see it there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I think for me, the main thing, and it's kind of not really news because Ruben Amorim sort of did allude to it during the week that Bayindir was going to start over the new guy, but that is, look, I understand, and look, he'll be a genius at full time if we win, and if Bayindir throws one in the goal, we're going to say it's an absolute nightmare. He should be starting the new Belgian keeper, but I think that is where my eyes directly go to. I think you spend that money. I know it's the deep end going away to the Etihad. I'm aware of that. But I don't think Bayindir's a Manchester United goalkeeper. Now, that doesn't mean the new guy is, but I think it's worth the risk of throwing him in. So time will tell how we'll be discussing the goalkeeping situation in 2 hours' time.
Yeah. It's a, well, what have we got in the midfield there?
That's what I'm trying to work out. What have we got?
You can interpret it that 11 a few different ways. To be honest, I think Mazraoui is an interesting one. I'd like to hope that he's brought Mazraoui into some legs in the midfield, to be honest, and playing him. We know how versatile Mazraoui is. Play him with Ugarte. I just had a look at BBC Sport, and they've actually got Mazraoui as the third centre back, and Luke Shaw at left back, and Dorgu at right wing back, and Ahmed at 10 with Mbeumo. So I think
Bruno and Ugarte in the middle.
Bruno, and Ugarte in the middle. So, I think could be interpreted a few different ways at 11, but I guess we'll find out at kickoff.
I think Dorgu's always the key in regards to all we debate is 3-4-3, and should Manchester United have 3 at the back? Should we have wingers of these 2 10s? We discuss this system so often, but very often we see the team line up and the Sky Sports graphic before kickoff, and it's setting this 3-4-3. But quite often on paper, it is almost a 4-3-3. I think the finest example was that Europa League final where Patrick Dorgu was pretty much left wing, and whoever was at right wing back was a right back, and Luke Shaw shifted across to left back, and it was pretty much a flat back 4. But I think that obviously if Dorgu plays on the right-hand side, which is a possibility, I doubt it, but looking at that is a potential possibility. I think it will be a standard 3-4-3. But I think if Dorgu's on the left and he's able to push high and Mazraoui is the right back, I think it could be a standard, not a standard 4, but maybe a little bit more traditional than we're somewhat used to. But yeah, I think when we see the players walk out and line up the kickoff, I think that's the only time we'll really get a true answer on what Amorim's thinking.
Interesting enough, 3 keepers in the team again.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Eaton's like, I'm like, what?
There must be logic behind it, but I don't see the reason for it.
Surely you're beneficial to throw a young fella in there with a bit of experience and throwing Heaton in there because you know he's not gonna get on. So I don't. That's a weird one again. I'm surprised Ugate's there. So to be honest with you, I'm surprised he's not. I suppose he wants a bit more fitness in there than probably Casemiro. I suppose.
Yeah.
Did
And then-
Ugarte go away with Uruguay?
Mate, I wouldn't have a clue. Jordan's usually all over that.
I actually don't know if he did. I don't know if many.
I don't think so. I didn't hear anything. So
South Americans even played. To be honest.
Yeah, but possibly not. Look, I don't follow the international football closely at all. But yeah, for me, and look, as much as Casemiro gets rightful criticism at times, especially lately, for me, he would come in over Ugarte for this one. But maybe youthful legs potentially prove beneficial. But yeah, I think the two not surprises, but the two eye raisers for me is Bayinda and Ugarte. I would have gone Casemiro and Lamens.
Would you have played Bruno in there though, or would you have pushed Bruno higher and brought in Kobe?
Well, yes, Kobe Manu is my favourite player at Manchester United, and I sadly have forgotten him out of this whole discussion, and that sadly very sums up the situation around him at the moment. Yeah, look, in an ideal world, if I'm putting my own 11 together, Bruno Fernandes would be a little bit higher, and I'd find room for Kobe Manu a little bit deeper. I do raise all the concerns about his legs in midfield, especially in games like away at the Etihad. But then you could say that and say he was man of the match in an FA Cup final against Manchester City on a huge pitch at Wembley. So I'm obviously in a different system. I obviously had a little bit more protection there, but I'm not overly fussed or worried with the whole situation around Kobe Manu. There's obviously an issue there or a situation there to sort of be concerned about, but I think it's just maybe one of the usual speed bumps a young player goes through. But
He's a player.
Yeah,
He's a quality player.
Oh, well, look, I think he's our best player in regards to ability. You could look at, obviously, Bruno Fernandes and Buma, of course, in regards to the way they contribute. But as a footballer, I do think Kobe Manu he's brilliant, and that is probably however we're going to look at Ruben Amorim's time in a year, 2 years, 3 years' time, a lot of it will be, I think, especially if it goes bad, what happened with Manu? Why couldn't he find a sort of place for Kobe Manu in the team? And I think for the benefit of Amorim and Manchester United, sooner or later he has to find a way to get him into the team.
100%. I'm with you, Tom. He's my favourite player too. And I'm finding it really frustrating that he even compared him to Bruno and said he's competing against Bruno. And I reckon that was, for me, it was a bit of a silly statement, to be honest with you. I think Manu's can find a position in that side quite easily, to be honest with you. Even though he probably hasn't got the pace as a lot of them, but even though I think that's a bit of a cop-out too with a lot of our a lot of our fans saying Manu hasn't got the pace to keep up. He's got the ball skill to beat players all the time. And he's got the trickery and everything like that, you know?
He's very, very, very clever off the ball as well as on the ball with his spaces and stuff. I don't know if the pace is such a big issue for a player like him when he always is in a pocket of space. Like he always has the awareness to know to be 2 to 3 yards off someone to receive the ball. Like he's just clever. Like Bruno's not the quickest.
Eight position, no problem at all. Like especially he can score a goal, and that's what irritated me as well. He said, I kept him on the bench because we needed a goal scorer. Like, I don't know if you watched Kobe a couple of years ago on debut year, he was scoring goals from,
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be held back a little bit? You get these players who are a little bit of a sort of jack of all trades and a master of none in regards to his versatility. I'm not comparing him to John O'Shea or Darren Fletcher, but he's quite as great as Kobe Manu is, in my opinion. He's somewhat confusing because sometimes I can see him dropping in between the centre backs and picking up the ball and getting them sort of dictate and play a little bit. But then I can see him like that goal at the Molineux under Eric Ten Hag where he nutmegs a player, goes past a player, then curls it in that sort of number 10 position. I think, well, hang on, is he a number 6 or is he a number 10? Then you see him in the FA Cup finals a number 8. You think, okay, that gives you the all-round picture that he's just an all-round player. And that's great. But in regards to really nailing down a spot, he's even watching him and being a huge fan of him for all these years, I can't tell you where his best position is. Everyone will say, oh, yeah, he's an 8. No, he's a 10, and they'll be adamant. But next week he'll put a good performance in a different position or a bad performance in this position, and we'll all change our opinion. So I have a feeling not a feeling, but just that there is a thought that he might just be a bit of a jack of all trades, and that could potentially, which we've seen with players in the past, almost be a detriment to them, unfortunately.
Yeah,
like in the Europa League final too, when he scored in that too, it was like in that similar 10 role.
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah.
But I think I trust the manager in, he has said that players' times will come throughout the season. It's a long season, and I think Cobby will get his time. Because I guess this is a regular topic for us boys. This one, but it's been one that's dominated the season so far on our pods, is sort of Cobby and how we fit him in and stuff. And I also think on the flip side of that, to get Cobby Manu in the team, it's pushing Bruno forward at this point in time. That seems to be everyone's opinion. And I sort of, I agree with that. But to see the manager has a different thought process there. I hope we can see Bruno a bit more further forward today.
Do you think City's going to take control of this match, or do you think United's going to come in with a high press and get them down? It's a tough one for both teams, really, isn't it?
I think you got to press them. I think you got to, based on, as we said on the last pod, the amount of goals they've conceded from playing out this season. Just alone this season, they don't really. That's where you get at them. But then if they get past your line, especially if you're playing a 3-4-3, and they break that first line of the press, you're always in a 5v5 or a 5v4 situation. So you just got to be careful with it.
I think it's our hesitancy going into how many times we've gone that Eddie had over the last 10 years, and we've all drawn up a scenario that tonight we could be 6-0 down at half time. That's what City and Erling Haaland and players like that can do when Manchester United rock up. Now, Manchester United have a very good record compared to most of the Eddie had, so it is almost that flip of a coin. Form goes out of the window in the derby, but I think it's weird because we have this fear and a bit of excitement that naturally you go into the match, there is that excitement. There's always a fear with Manchester United going, oh God, City can turn it on. When they do turn it on against Manchester United at the Etihad, it is a little bit of trouble. But the reality of this season, and people don't like it because we can't take away Grimsby. Grimsby was bad. We can't look over that. That did happen. We do need to address that. In the league, the 3 games, like it or not, we've been better than City. One, we're above them in the table. We've played better football. They played pretty well against Wolves. I think they beat them 3 or 4-0. They were woeful against Tottenham. And then had a defeat against Brighton. And look, we were good against Arsenal. Okay, the defeat wasn't there, but we can all accept we were very good against Arsenal. For 45, we were okay against Fulham. And then by far the better team against Burnley. And I'm watching Burnley now, and they've got a red card, but they're holding on for maybe a point against Liverpool.
So far out.
So I do look at the nerves going into this Manchester derby. They're rightly there. We've been the better team this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, a stupid sample size, 3 games. Obviously, City will you'd think, click a little bit more and sort of finish far stronger than Manchester United. But going into this match, I don't call us favourites.
Yeah,
but I think it's a little bit more balanced than what we probably have gone in previous years.
I saw a stat today, and I wrote it down. The home side, so City has won just 6 of the last 20 derbies. That's crazy, eh?
I think Ten Hag had some ridiculous record at one point against City. Where he was
Ollie did as well.
Solskjaer had a great record.
Yeah. Ollie
had a really good record against City.
To be fair, Amorim against Pep Guardiola. The Sport Lisbon didn't lose against, beat them and a draw last year, plus the win against Sporting. So maybe there's something with Amorim and Pep potentially, hopefully.
That's when he had that Gyökeres scored a hat trick in the Champions League, didn't he? And they beat him 4-0 or something, blew him off the field.
I mean, as United, you look at probably the back line of City today, and their new goalkeeper Donnarumma playing, and they brought in what's that? Is he from Moldova? The Kursanov, is it? And then the young left back.
Actually, I haven't seen their 11.
Yeah, the young left back O'Reilly and Vardiol's come in after coming back from injury. You got to look at that team and look at that back on and fancy yourselves. Press that ball high. You've got players who have not started yet this year. You've You got the keeper who's, there's a bit of. Donovan was a great keeper, but he's not a ball player. Ball player. And you've seen what happened when other teams have pressed Man City high this year. They've conceded goals. So I think we've got to go in with that mentality. Let's, especially in the first, 20, 30 minutes, press high, win your 50-50s, and let's score the first goal. I think we've got to go in with that mentality. I mean, we've started in every game this year. We've started really well and really strongly. In that first 15, 20 minutes, you'd argue that we probably should have scored more goals in that first period of those games.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to fancy ourselves in that area for sure.
Who do you think the game's bigger for? Because usually we just look in our own backyard and look at our situation. Oh my God, we needed 3 points today for European qualification or last season to get away from the bottom three sort of thing. But if City lose this, they lose 3 Premier League games in a row.
Yeah.
They go into the relegation zone. They're way off whatever Liverpool will be on or whatever Arsenal will be on. There'll be a certain amount of points behind us, I think. So I just think, is there a situation where this is actually, for the first time in maybe sort of 10 years, almost a bigger, more important game for Man City?
Yeah, I think it's a bigger game
for City. So here's your lineup. Oh, it's definitely a bigger game for City. That's for sure.
Is that good for us or bad for us?
City,
because they handle pressure really well, don't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to say it's bad for us, but I think we step up against the bigger teams. So that's probably in our favour. So, we played well against Arsenal. We always play well against City. I just read a stat. They've only won 6 of the last 20. Ahmad, he likes to put on a show against these big teams. And, look, it's containing that. For me, what I spoke about it on the last pod is containing that Dorku. Mate, he always looks lively. And if he starts feeding Erling Haaland, then we're in trouble. But you know what? Haaland's been quiet against us the last few games. So, yeah.
I hope Sesko comes out strong from the start. I hope he has a great game for us up front.
He needs a goal, and I'm not critical at all of his start or his sort of limited minutes so far. It is what it is, and I'll obviously give him the patience he needs at Man United. But just in regards to just the perception and the pressure that is on a Manchester United striker, he needs a goal. Like this is now, what are we coming into the middle of September now? It's just he needs a goal wherever that comes, and what better place to do it? That it is the sort of stage is set. But I start to worry because you look at Rasmus Højlund. Now, I'm not saying bring him back. I wasn't a huge fan of him, but he's now scored at Napoli. You think, well, hang on, what do we get rid of a striker who's scoring goals for fun in Italy sort of thing? And I just think you'll go back to Rasmus Højlund's first season at Old Trafford. Forget what you think of his ability and his hold-up play and his sort of overall ability as a footballer. He scored a lot of goals in his first season. Yeah. That wasn't enough to keep him at Manchester United. Unfortunately, for a Manchester United number 9, you need to score a lot of goals. Scoring what he scored in his first season, 15 to 20 goals, a bit over 15 goals, I think.
Yeah, not many in the Premier League either.
Yeah, there's around 16, like all competitions, of course, but that wasn't enough. I just think Sesko's still on 0. Now, obviously, a long way to go. But fingers crossed he gets over 20 goals. But he's going to need that, and he needs to start.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see him score. I'd like to see him get some confidence in him too, because I think he'll be very much a confidence player. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's really off. So the more he's on, the more it's going to help.
Yeah.
So you're not even starting that Oscar Bob, which I find crazy. He's
I look at that City team, not to make this about Man City, and look, I'd kill to be in the position they are, just in regards to their ability. They're constant of winning trophies and competing, of course. So I'm not saying Manchester United are a better placed club at the moment. The furthest thing from what I'm saying. I'm looking at that. Ruben Dias, I wouldn't say he's past it, but I think we have seen the best of him. I think that they will look to the next 3 to 4 years, okay, who's the next defender? You got those players, of course, like Phil Foden, Nico Riley, the one or two others they have on the bench. Did you mention Jordan? Oh, Oscar Bob, of course. But I'll go through that team. Okay, Randy is obviously a good player in Erling Haaland, but go through that bench. Okay, one or two players get injured. Who are you bringing off that bench? Now, yes, of course, it's not about names. So you can have a player I've never even heard of there be the next best thing and prove me completely wrong. But I compare that bench and that start 11 to what I used to see from Man City putting out over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I just think they're not what they once were. And that's not to say that Manchester United are great and we're above them, but I'm just thinking maybe they're starting to be clawed back a little bit.
They used to start Phil Foden on the bench. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, he hasn't been at his best at all, has he? Phil
He's-
Foden.
He's been really quiet.
He's
He
been
doesn't know if
terrible.
he enjoys it anymore, to be honest. Which is
That's what happens when they win everything. Then you've got to have a certain mentality to just keep coming back year after year after year, don't they?
Yep.
And they seem to be losing that little bit of touch. But no better way for City to get back on track is by beating United. And look, no better thing can start us on a great night by seeing Liverpool draw to Burnley. And
Oh, don't say that. There's still 2 minutes. They're piling in corners. I'm watching here. I'm waiting for that penalty. One of the Burnley players
I'm
want to
waiting
stick a
for
hand
it
out.
too, Tom. Yeah.
We get a handball in a second.
But I'm thinking I think it might have been Elliot who mentioned it earlier in regards to Donnarumma starting hit. Now, yes, as a goalkeeper, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. But I think it might have even been at the Etihad, or I might picture a different game, but in the Champions, it actually might have been Newcastle, to be fair. But what's Hannibal praying for here? Something happened with Hannibal. Hannibal's got his hands in his head in his hands. Something's happened here. I bet it's a penalty.
Good. It just went for a corner.
Oh, Scott Parker's walking away, and so I didn't say what's happened, but it looks. I don't know. But on Donnarumma, I'm saying if you can press him somehow, if City do want to play the way City play and start playing out from the back, maybe Donnarumma is someone you could potentially get out.
There it is.
Don't tell me he stuck out. What did I say 30 seconds ago about a Burnley player sticking his hand out?
Oh,
Him, boy.
You could smell it.
Oh,
it wasn't a minute ago I said that.
You poor bugger. Oh, my Lord.
that's the type of stuff that gets relegated.
You reckon?
Just that with Liverpool, you could smell the Manchester United connection. It's just those things. They're going to win it off the back of something to do with Manchester. And
Look at this. You got it on, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, it's his elbow. It hit his elbow.
No, it's a handball. Like if it was against us, I would be screaming for it.
Begging for something.
Scores it.
As Mo Salah
I think going back to us, if we go out today, I think everyone will forget the. I don't know. I wouldn't call it a shaky start to the season, but certainly, we then get through the first 4 games with 7 points. And we're sitting just outside the top 4. That's an okay place to be. I think. I've fancied us for this game. Since the start of the season, I think it's a good time to play Man City before any team like them, once they get momentum and get going, they'll put a record together. And they just had such a shaky start. I think, and I just fancy us against their back 4. I do think we're going to go and win this game today. I really do.
I think this season, and we can't, as I said, we can't wipe away what happened against Grimsby. Okay, that goes down in Manchester United's history, that game. It happened, and we need to look at it and remember it. The 3 Premier League games, though, this season, and you compare them to Man City, we've been better. That does not mean anything come Derby Day. But I just think we do have not confidence, I don't think a right to be sort of confident going into a derby, away at the Etihad. But yeah, I think usually we're the one shitting ourselves, and we're the ones really nervous. I think the one who is potentially a little bit nervous, more nervous than Man United today, is City, given their situation.
I would have really liked to see Cunha play today. I think this is a game where he'd really come out and show everything he's about.
He's been good. Both signings, Cunha and Mbeumo, I think both have hit the ground running. And usually you don't get that at Manchester United. Usually the big money signings, you're sort of left with a lot of questions. But I think those two so far look like Man United players.
Yeah, he's just I think in a game like this where Man City probably dictate a lot of the ball. He was pretty good at picking the ball up and driving with it and getting us forward up the pitch, which is, I think, will be pretty helpful today. It's a shame he's not fit.
Sorry, boys. I just fucking does my head in. I actually think Mo Salah's put weight on, and I'm thinking he had a shit game today, and now he's put the penalty away.
It's always him, mate. He has a shit game and he scores.
I don't look. Everyone knows my thought. People who have listened to me talk know my thoughts on Mohamed Salah. Of course, he's good. You look at the goals, you look at his success. Yes, okay. As a footballer, I just don't rate him. I don't think he's a great player. He's got an unreal ability, and he doesn't need to be. I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo, who, in my opinion, is the best in the world. I don't think Ronaldo's a great player compared to other players, and just in terms of ability and everything. But he doesn't need to be. Football is about winning games. To win games, you need to score goals. So ultimately, you can say Salah and Ronaldo are the best in the world. But just in regards to the way they play football, I don't see it with Salah. And here we are. You don't see him for 95 minutes. Hannibal sticks his elbow out. Now Mo Salah's the hero. And that's the cruel sport we love.
Yeah,
That's harsh.
it's harsh.
No, I'm talking. Sorry, I'm looking at the Liverpool.
Right, the Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Anyway.
terrible.
It's typical.
Oh, boy, Hannibal's gutted. And he knows how much that means too. Especially playing Liverpool.
Yeah. Well, that's the type of draws Burnley need to get if they want to stay up. It's already hard enough to compete with some of the big teams, but if you can get a point against Liverpool, there's at the end of the season, you pick up 2 or 3 of them, and that can be the difference.
Well, these are the standings so far. So Liverpool goes back to the top, don't they? Got Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. Look, Tottenham's. I saw Tottenham yesterday. They're looking all right, eh? Tottenham.
Yeah,
The time I saw Tottenham this season was against City, and they battered them. To be fair, City were bad, but it could have been a case of Tottenham making City look bad. So
They were good yesterday, City.
Yeah.
Tottenham.
Tottenham look fun.
Xavi Simons looks like Sam signing, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think I think Tottenham will ultimately, now in saying that, they did obviously beat us in the Europa League final, so who are we to throw around a bit of banter? But I think Tottenham they'll eventually fall into line and beat Tottenham again. I don't see them in regards to any sort of title race.
Correct.
But I do think they lack sort of that quality, especially they do. Well, they'll be in the Champions League, wouldn't they? Because they did win the Europa League. So those added games will be interesting. But I think, look, season does give you sort of these sort of landmarks and sort of where to sort of evaluate yourself in. The 2 tests for us, Manchester City and Chelsea, 2 teams who are above us in regards to perception and status at the moment. But if you can get sort of above average points, so let's say 4 points a draw tonight and 3 against Chelsea at home, suddenly the start of the season looks a hell of a lot better. But you do draw up a real life scenario where we take 0 points. We're having an all too familiar debate.
Oh, we are. Yeah, look, it's going back to that question again, Tom, where you said is City, it's a very important game for City, and is it a very important game for United? There's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive for both teams tonight, isn't it? It's huge.
Yeah, it is.
You're like, if United win, we build massive confidence. If City win, they're going to start going on a roll sooner or later. If we beat City, hopefully it puts them in a little bit of a hole. So, and Pep.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
When does Pep ever become under pressure though from the club?
He will look at, and that's for City fans to debate. In my opinion, if I was a City fan, thank God I'm not, but if I were to be, he would have enough credit in the bank. He could get us relegated compared to what City are, in my opinion, for the success he has brought them. For me, now, yes, in regards to always striving to sort of improve yourself, of course, there should be pressure at some stage to always evolve and move on from the past. But I think he's done enough to sort of do what he wants at City. But if you look at, they're on 3 points now. That win for Liverpool puts them 4 from 4. Let's say we do beat Man City today. You're not saying, okay, the title race is over. It's a long way for City to come back.
Yeah. Well, they did the same thing last season, didn't they? They went on that roll and lost Was it 4 in a row?
Yeah.
I think they had one win in 14 games, which is crazy when you think about it.
Games. That's
Then
crazy.
they'll turn around and they'll go 16 in a row unbeaten. Mental. But they just do it. They just when Christmas hits, from Christmas to the end of the season, man, they are just a different machine. And that's why I think, like, if Pep would never be under pressure, I don't think, because I don't think you could ever replace him in the current market with anyone that's up on his level. Managerial wise, the players he's brought in, like City bring in an academy player into the starting 11, and he looks like he's played in the first team for the last 6 years because the styles throughout the entire club.
Very sort of reminiscent of when Sir Alex used to give a debut. And the beauty of that was, and the same things happened with Pep and Sir Alex, you could bring these kids on at 3-0 or 4-0 up at home, and they could play the last 20 minutes and usually sort of grab a goal. But now, in the last 10 years, Manchester United debuts have unfortunately been when we're 2-0 down at home to Brighton. Okay, you come on the last 10 minutes, have your debut here. And the cutthroat nature of football, and especially Manchester United, you have your debut and it's a negative first 5 minutes. That paints a picture. And that unfortunately sticks with you. It shouldn't, but that's just sort of how football works at the moment. And it's an unfortunate situation because you go back to that starting 11, Adam, when we're talking about Kobbie Mainoo. I think a huge part of our emotion towards the Mainoo debate in regards to fitting him in, you go through it, there's no academy players in that starting 11. Now, I don't need an academy player in the starting 11, but it goes back to the debate, and Ruben Amorim was even quizzed on it and said, you're aware of the record since the 1930s of having an academy graduate in the matchday squad? And he said, he sort of laughed and said, yes, I'm aware. I don't want to be the manager who sort of breaks that tradition. That gave me a little bit of confidence that he will uphold that tradition. And I hope there's someone who's got a full-time position at Manchester United whose job it is to sort of relay the match day squad and have a look at it every single week just to make sure, and have academy graduate on standby to make sure that happens. But you go through that the Kobbie Mainoo situation, we don't have any academy players at the moment. Scott McTominay is off in Naples. Marcus Rashford's in Barcelona. I'm just saying, other than that, yes, you've got one or two sort of floating around the youth team and the bench. But in regards to first team players contributing to the first team, we're severely lacking. And it's weird because you could say our academy is probably one of the strong points of Manchester United in the last 3-4 years in regards to the quality we are producing. Unfortunately, because our first team is in 10th, 15th, 12th, there's not really that path to progress into the first team because we're kind of in a FA Cup final every second week, and that's not the environment where you want to introduce these players in.
You look at our under-18s. I reckon in the last 3 years, our under-18s have probably lost maybe a dozen games in 3 years. It's crazy. Probably less than that.
That's what I mean. If that was back in 2005, 2006, 2007, 10 of those players would have probably had debuts.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like you've got a 14-year-old, JJ Gabriel. Like he's scoring goals for fun at the moment, that kid, and he's 14. Like it's friggin' mental. Like, and if you watch the 18s, which I know you do, Tom, he's no big unit at all. He just positions himself so well. I think he gets under the player a lot of the times, and his finishing is that clean. And he scores some great goals. He just finds himself in a good spot all the time.
I think that the technical level of players now, go back to sort of when I was coming through and you always compare generations, the technical level of players now is unbelievable in terms of the way they're coming through. I think the football intelligence is where it is lacking, and that is sort of in terms of really affecting the product we see at senior football. But all these players are technically gifted, but you compare the opposite in regards to the physical side of things. Cheeto Obi-Martin, what he was doing at under 18s, under 21s level, and he's massive. He's a big unit. However, every time I've seen him in the first team, he looks like a kid. Now, he's a kid, so that's the furthest thing to be critical from him. But he looks like a kid out there. And I just think that is where I think football, it goes through trends. Like back in the 90s in the Premier League, it was sort of kick and chase, a big man, little man up front, sort of get your second balls. Now Pep Guardiola's come in and dominated football, and it's all playing out from the back. I think football now is almost transitioning back to a phase where it's a real physical game. It's sort of that's almost the telling nature. You look at Manchester City, their dominance over the last couple of years. We look at the good football. Every player they have is 6'5". They're just
Well, they play
units.
four centre backs along the back line. So do Arsenal. Arsenal sign a centre back every 2 weeks. It feels like at this point.
And so I think that's just where football feels now. It's like a real physical game. And you look at, out of our best player at Manchester United, for us, Kobbie Mainoo, the most technically gifted. But here we are as fans, not sure where to put him. Ruben Amorim can't get him in the team. And one question mark over him is just the physicality. And it's just a weird situation I think we're finding ourselves in, both Man United but also football in general.
It does stand out if you're not in the physical battle. It does stand out big time. Like I know, look, I'm comparing like Australian football with English football here, but like today, Tom, I was at the under-20s for Marconi and Apia Grand Final, and there was one young lad there, great player, and he's only young, he's only 16, and a very quick player, but just that physical battle for him, he was just out of it a little bit, and people, like I was the first one going, geez, it's a grand final, you need to put your body on the line every now and then, but it really stands out in games. But you need those physical players these days. Like both me and you, Tom, have met Harry Maguire. He's a big man. We've met David May. Like David May has got calves on him that big, it's mental. Rio Ferdinand, all big men. They're huge. And when you see these guys, you're like, they're like gods. You can't imagine them being that big.
Even the players who look average, I remember the one who always stood out to me the couple of times being able to meet him, Diego Dalot.
He's a big boy.
On the camera, he just looks like your average player. Yeah. So I just think that is why, and his game is obviously a very physical one, not in regards to sort of throwing himself into the tackle sort of thing, but in regards to aerobically up and down the pitch, a very physical player. His game is a lot of running. I just think, it is. And look, here we are saying maybe the danger man in this Manchester derby is going to be the least physical player in Phil Foden, which makes us all a little bit hypocritical. But that's the beauty of the game. But yeah, it's just, I think that we always just have a demand as Manchester United fans, no matter if we're good or if we're poor, we want to see these young players come through. And I think at the moment, with not getting results and not having them in the team, something's got to give.
I also think, just with how the PSR ruling and stuff is now, I hope we just don't fall into the trap where we use the academy as a money making system to balance the sheet at the end of the year, because you see sort of what Chelsea are doing, in some instances. And just some sales that we've made over the last 12, 18 months. McTominay for me was an interesting, just a interesting one. I really think he would have done well in this Amorim system, and he's just gone to Napoli and he's just absolutely flourishing. And which is great to see. But again, you want that happening at us. I thought Scott McTominay was going to be the next United captain, in a way, not the most technically gifted player, but wore the badge on his sleeve, and and reminded me of a lot of the older fellas from the class of '92 coming through and things like that. Had that heart, led United, and and we sell him to balance the sheet. In my opinion, I just hope we don't fall into that trap and we start doing that too much, because then that really is the flaw in the system, in my opinion. And that's one of the key principles of our club is, we and what Fergie and, Sir Matt, I guess sort of instilled into our core was that the academy is the future, and we will get the best players from our academy. So I really hope that we don't fall into any traps there to balance the sheet.
Look, I agree completely. However, unfortunately, I think we're in that trap, and not just us. I think it is the way forward. for football now. I think in regards to all the financial rules, and I don't have my head around any of the financial rules or any understanding of how they work, but everything you do read about them, the standard and safe way to get 20 million here, 30 million here, 15 million here is to sell these players. Now, it's not something I agree with, but if someone was presenting me the books and said, okay, you have a decision to make, you want this player coming through or you want to secure this part of the future for Manchester United, it could be sort of pick the lesser of two evils. And so I agree completely, but I just think it feels that is the way football is going to go. Now, hopefully, if it does go that direction, not that hopefully it goes that direction, but if it is to go that direction, you do hope we are producing enough talent to cherry pick and our best academy players go into the first team, and you can still then sort of profit from selling the other players. But so I agree with sentiment 100%. It's just I do feel the hat's over the wall, and that is how clubs do really see potential sort of beneficial sort of revenue streams coming in the future.
I was just looking at United in the international land. Sorry, I get distracted. Yeah, I totally agree with both of you there. Like you need the academies coming through, but the game's changing a lot, isn't it? So, and like McTominay, I know Tom was a massive fan of McTominay, and but he's like you said, he's flourishing over there at Napoli, and Højlund's gone there now, and he seems to be following the same suit, scoring a goal and things like that. But you know what? What have we got? It's 1:15. I think we should be maybe signing off and warming our seats up and getting ready for this win, boys. What do you think?
For sure.
I just can't get the picture of Hannibal out of my head. Right, Hannibal's elbow up here.
One thing on Højlund and Scott going to Naples is Antonio Conte makes any player look like a world-class player over in Italy. That guy's track record over there with bringing in these players that aren't starters for other clubs and them coming there and being like world beaters, he does do that quite well.
I saw a picture when Højlund was celebrating, and it's one of those ones who would have picked this 3 years ago or something. And the three that were celebrating a goal, Rasmus Højlund, Scott McTominay, and Kevin De Bruyne. Celebrating a goal for the Italian champions. I just think football is a weird sport.
I've got to admit, I did enjoy when Garnacho celebrated hard, and then he let his player run on the back post. I've got to admit,
I didn't get him celebrating. No, like he didn't do.
Mate, he celebrated so hard it was ridiculous.
They were doing Ronaldo celebration over in the corner, and it was
just they all ran over to him. It wasn't even
just sort of screaming. You didn't even
do into the box for once in his life.
That was such a Manchester United goal to concede as well. Not to pin it all on Garnacho, but it was just something you could see. Not just him, you could see Wan-Bissaka or Delo or Luke Shaw. You could see them doing that. I just think hopefully he's brought that trait to London with him.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good way to sign off. Thank you, boys, for coming in. I know I called an early one, but it was a very good chat. I love talking United, especially Derby Day. I want to make sure everyone goes and follows Hated, Adored, Never Ignored on Spotify. Tom's well knowledge, and his podcast's unreal. So get on the Spotify and follow him on there. You've got the Instagram page too, Tom?
Yeah, on socials, just Hated, Adored Pod, and on any podcast app, so Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Just shoot there, and hopefully it pops up for you. If not, send us a message on social media. Just my handle's there, TomMUFC8. And pleasure as always, boys. As I said, Derby Day is just one of those days. You don't know if you love it or you hate it, but
you find out.
That's right.
It's a Jordan. It's a good one to have on the building site.
If we lose tonight, I don't think I'm going to work tomorrow.
All right, boys. Enjoy the game. I'll talk to you later.
See you later.
Come on, United. Come on, 3 points.